This is Dr. David D. Shine, wishing my audience a very happy 4th of July. That date is important since those who signed the Declaration of Independence were taking on the powerful British Empire, one of the most powerful empires in the history of the world. They were putting their lives and their fortunes on the line for the liberty of their families, the other colonists, and for the generations to follow, including our generation. During my lifespan, I have seen the United States never in such bad shape as it is today. We have a divided government with evil forces trying to deny basic rights ensured by the U.S. Constitution in place for over 230 years. The fantastic experiment in self-governance and representative democracy has created the most successful society in history. It has also helped other nations and people around the world. The U.S. succeeded in defeating fascism in not one, but two world wars. It won the Cold War against the USSR, the largest communist experiment in history, and then the technological advancements that included winning the space race. None of this should be overlooked. Our justice system is a biased shambles. Some are prosecuted while others face little or no consequences. Equal justice under the law is critical. We must also prosecute criminals to the fullest extent of the law and ensure our communities are safe. Use a gun in a crime, hard time in prison, no bail prior to the trial, and direct to prison and long, hard, rock-banging systems, no cuddly deals in prison. I'm a staunch proponent of the death penalty. Kill someone, the state puts you to death promptly. Let's start focusing on the victims and the success of our society, not so much on the lawless scum. Balancing that, our society needs to focus on rehabilitation and education for nonviolent and first-time offenders. Needs to be some balance there, folks. Our public schools have failed our civilization. Time to focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Voting is a sacred right of citizenship. It is ludicrous that some states like New York have proposed that non-citizens vote. Further, the system needs to be purged from end to end. Fair elections are a bedrock of democracy. Too many dead people voting and other extreme circumstances. We need to clean up the system. Further, let's hold all politicians responsible for their acts and make sure we return to citizen legislators. This is a bipartisan comment. George Santos should not have been elected. Mitch McConnell should have been sent home years ago, as should Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden. This so-called legacy media has failed America. That is why there's so many alternative networks and media outlets today. Parallel to that, the two-party system of Democrats and Republicans has failed and failed massively. By the way, this is not in the Constitution. We do not have to have just two political parties. I believe we need to start having more choices of political parties. We need parties that bring the majority of rational Americans together. Let's leave the extremists in the Republicans and Democrats out there in the minority. Let's have a majority party that represents the thoughts and meanings and the lifestyle of the majority of Americans. Neither political party is really doing that today. No country exists without borders. All borders to the U.S. must be sealed now. At the same time, we cannot be successful. That's right, folks. We cannot be successful without reasonable immigration. I strongly favor an aggressive approach. Let's go out and get the best and the brightest from the entire world. And that doesn't just mean college graduates or people going to grad school and med school. That means good people around the world should know that America wants you. We just need you to come legally, come through the system, get in line, and let's get it done. And we can advance our society. I strongly believe in positive immigration policy, but the current system is a mess. We need a compromise. We need it now. I think the previous policy, my father's father came through Ellis Island around 1915. He had a wonderful life and created a wonderful legacy for my dad's family. Thank God that happened. Thank God that route was clearly open for him. America must reach compromise on abortion. We cannot have it be state by state. I am hearing GOP presidential candidates start talking about a 15-week ban on elective abortions. Folks, pay attention. This is progress. We cannot have abortion as a routine means of birth control, but that's my personal opinion. It's my religious opinion. We have got to get to a rational agreement. Perhaps the way to get there is to make sure that abortion and protection for doctors and women remains legal and it's clear. We must protect women from ectopic pregnancies. My wife had an ectopic pregnancy as her first pregnancy. The doctor did surgery because she was in horrendous pain and was going to die. Thank goodness that doctor wasn't sitting there saying, gee, am I going to get sued? Am I going to end up in jail if I do this surgery? We cannot have that in America. We cannot have that type of risk to the mother. We also need to allow for other health risks for situations like rape, incest, when the fetus has already died in the womb. At the same time, I do not know any American out there who says if a baby is born viable, that you should kill that baby because it wasn't an intended birth. I think there has to be a compromise. There has to be a cutoff that we won't do abortions other than the cases I just mentioned at a certain point. Folks, let's get it done. And I hate to say this, but the Democrats are holding this out because they see it as a winning issue in 2024. What an insensitive approach. Hey, we don't care about women's rights. We just care about the 2024 election. That's what I'm hearing from the Democrats. Sit down with the reasonable Republicans, get it done now. Protect women in all 50 states, District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. Time to get it done now. Get the politics out of it because I'm willing to compromise. Time for everybody else to sit down and get it done. What else can we as Americans do? Participate in the public discourse and the electoral process. Keep going to school board meetings. Watch for elections in these so-called down ballot races. Get out and vote in the primaries. What's happening right now is it's becoming more clear that only the hardcore right and the hardcore left are showing up for the primaries. So we end up with unattractive candidates. I've been voting for people that I don't really care for, but they were the best possible candidate that I viewed closest to my policy. Is it somebody I wanted? No. And I've been voting that way for too long, but we've got to fix the primary process. And hey, by the way, Americans, run for office yourself. I understand we've got maybe 16 people running for president on the GOP ticket right now, a couple extras running on the Democratic ticket. Let's get out there and run for office. Let's make it interesting. And like I said, I do think we need to start looking at alternative political parties that will control and reach agreement and reach a better America. Thank you for listening, and I welcome your feedback. This is Dr. David D. Schein for this special 4th of July message. I hope you and your families have a safe 4th of July and the rest of our wonderful summer. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.